Support for Radio Friends comes from OsteoStrong. Improvements in bone density, strength, and power can be achieved by weekly 5-minute no-sweat sessions on their 4-Spectrum machines. These isometric robotic machines safely emulate high-impact loading on different parts of the skeletal system, which stimulates activity in bone-building cells. Balance and agility can be improved by 2-minute sessions on vibration plates. Every session is supervised by a trained coach. Learn more on Facebook or call to set up a complimentary wellness assessment and session. Good morning and welcome to Radio Friends on Thursday, May the 11th. I want to introduce you to Robert Ricketts. He's our computer expert. And you know, computers have now become a part of almost everybody's life.
Yep.
I can think back 25 years ago when I didn't depend on the computer. Now it's a part of our daily living. Everything.
Mm-hmm.
So Robert, of course, is a computer expert. We thought today we'd talk about the difference between having a PC or a Windows computer versus an Apple machine.
The Macintosh, right?
So what is the difference?
Well, try not to get into too much history here, but so Apple designed the first Macintosh back in the early 80s, and they had a usable interface, the mouse and the Windows, long before Microsoft did. So the attraction of the Mac back then especially was more ease of use.
And how long ago was that?
Oh, we're getting to up to 40 years ago at this point.
Okay.
Early 80s.
So that was before Microsoft came along with their version.
That's right. So the Windows as we know it today came out around the early to mid-90s.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, the two have pretty much been neck and neck as far as ease of use.
But as far as the expense, which is the most economical?
Well, anyone that's shopped for a Mac knows that Mac computers are really, really expensive. We'll talk about that in a moment.
Okay.
So with Apple's design philosophy for their computers is to be ease of use, so to speak, a little bit of resistance to viruses. And that may have been true years ago, especially 10, 20 years ago or longer. But today, Windows and PC are really at parity as far as that goes. And to really get the most out of your computer, not just web surfing, but use the computer to its fullest, requires a set of skills on both platforms. So Mac is not really easier to use per se than a Windows computer, even though it kind of has that, what I consider an undeserved reputation at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But rather learning how to use the machine itself. Probably the foremost thing folks should understand is how the file system works. Folders and files and why they're there and how they work. Those ideas are a little more muted, a little more suppressed on the Mac. Apple really doesn't want you to get into the nitty-gritty too much on those factors.
So I've never quite totally understood how all of this works.
Mm-hmm.
I have the PC, the Windows.
Yes.
And I get by with it.
Mm-hmm.
I know I can put my files in a certain area. But as far as the nitty-gritty of how everything operates, that's just totally above me.
That's right, and you don't really need to know that with either platform. But with Windows, to the extent that you want to explore further, it's a little more out in the open, so to speak, and does require or does encourage and require you to pursue the operation of the computer a little bit more.
So you're saying that the Windows unit are easier to operate?
Well, no, I think they're both probably easier to operate, but because Microsoft, which makes Windows, is more open with their interface, it kind of encourages you to learn a little bit more about the computer. Whereas with a Mac OS, it's more of a hand-holding experience, more of a closed experience where you kind of do things the way Apple intends for you to do them.
Is there a reason why the Mac costs so much more than the Windows unit?
Because Apple can get the money. That's why. So Apple computers, of course, are exquisitely built. They're top of market for everything that they make.
Do they last longer?
No. If you take care of a Windows laptop, it will last as long as a Mac.
And what is the average life of a laptop?
Well, if you take care of the machine, most laptops die an early death from being dropped or beat up. But if you're easy on your electronics, you can get 8 to 10 years out of both of them pretty easily.
Yeah. Now, I just replaced one about a month ago that was over 10 years old.
Yes.
And it was running very, very, very
That's
slow.
right. 8 to 10 years, it's time to start shopping for a new machine. And that's where you're really going to see the price differences. So a well-spec'd MacBook laptop is a couple of $1,000s.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And even $3,000 plus is not unusual.
For a Mac?
For a MacBook Pro, which is their top-end laptop.
Okay, and then you can get a Microsoft unit like a Dell.
Exactly. So Microsoft computers that run Windows, $800 to $1,000, maybe $1,200 for a similarly spec'd computer. And furthermore, when you purchase that Mac, you need to decide ahead of time how much memory and storage you want, because those things are not upgradable later. So you're stuck with what you buy. And Apple charges a lot of money for those upgrades. Whereas with a Windows laptop, you can add more memory later on if you need it. You can add additional storage, like for pictures or video. Plus, those upgrades are a tiny fraction of the cost that they are on Apple.
So you can't very easily upgrade an Apple.
No, you can't upgrade it at all. Not their latest machines.
Oh.
You decide how much memory, storage, etc.,
and that's
what
it.
features you want when you buy it, and that's it.
Okay. What about the battery? Are all of the batteries, they're not, now you can't really change the batteries?
No, well, it requires taking the unit apart. They don't have the little doors on the bottom.
Yes, because the one that I just replaced, I had bought a battery for it several times. You just take the battery out, you get a replacement, put it in there. You can't do that anymore.
No,
why?
Because it makes the laptop thinner and lighter by not having the mechanics to allow you to replace that battery.
But the battery can be replaced.
It can be replaced, but it requires unscrewing the bottom of the laptop and
so you want to have a professional do that?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bottom line then, both machines are good machines.
Yep.
One is going to cost a lot more.
3 times more than the other.
But they're both going to last about the exact same time.
If you take care of it, that's right. And you can do the same things on both computers.
Now, when you say take care of it, what do you mean? We got less than a minute here.
Treat it like you would a diamond ring. Just don't drop it. Don't leave it in your car where it's going to get baked by the sun. I mean,
what about those upgrades that they send you all the time?
Well, both operating systems need to perform upgrades, and you should take those upgrades.
You should always take the upgrades.
Yes.
And do they both operating systems? Do they both need a security protection?
Not anymore. Windows has security that's built in. Mac has their own security. Third-party antivirus products, not so important today.
So you're saying that by purchasing something like McAfee or...
No.
It's not necessary.
Not today. There's special use cases.
Okay. For more information, www.itcomo.com, or your phone number is
573-999-9849.
Okay, Robert Ricketts, always a pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming
Thanks.
by. Bye-bye.